Hey y'all. I know I've been on here talking about narcissistic abuse and not things that narcissistic people use in order to manipulate their victims, right? But I'm gonna tell you that a lot of people are not very open to hearing about narcissistic abuse because they don't understand it. People who are being abused definitely don't really understand it, right? But I'm gonna tell you, narcissistic abuse has the tendency to move us from deception to delusion, right? Because if you are being abused by a narcissist, you, especially if it has been long term, you have learned to internalize everything, right? You are one of them people who has learned not to take other people's behavior personally. And that is true, right? You should not take it personal and feel like they only do this to you, right? That is not right. But the truth is, they know exactly what they are doing, and they don't do it only to you. They'll do it to anybody, right? Because that's who they have chosen to be. But they are intentional about this behavior, right? The reason why they continue to do that is because people who have learned to, that's just who they is, right? That's the key one. That's the key one. That's just who they is. And that is true, that's just who they is. But you don't have to allow them to be that person to you, right? Why do you feel that it's okay for them to be that person to you, right? They should not be that person at all, and you cannot make them change, which is why when you want to stay in the relationship, you go from deception to delusion. Deception is lying to other people about these people's behavior and excusing it and giving a reason for why it's okay, right? That's deception. The delusion comes in when you lie to yourself about it, right? When you lie to yourself and say that this is just who they is and this is not about me. No, it's not about you. But they are very well aware that you are one of those people who will accept it, so they know they don't have to make any changes, right? They are very intentional. Behavior is intentional. We have a whole study in psychology on behavior because behavior is intentional. Personality is intentional, right? That's why the Bible tells us that you know a person from the fruits of their life, and from the heart the tongue speaks, right? Because people display what they want other people to see, and that is their personality, right? They are intentional. See, we be wanting to excuse behavior and not take it personal because we know that if we take it personal, it'll hinder us, right? And that is very true. But also not recognizing the spiritual aspect of things and the spirits that's in people in order to hinder you, right? Because narcissistic abuse is just the spirits acting on through these people to affect the things around them. They could change, right? These spirits are not as one track minded as we like to think, right? Because they know who tolerates what, right? You can identify a narcissistic person because you will see behaviors that they do, and then you will question, like, okay, like, they don't do this to everybody though. Like, for example, right, a narcissistic parent, right? A narcissistic parent is a good example because a narcissistic parent may mistreat one child, multiple children, right? But then you have a child that you see they are loving and caring and forgiving, and they supported to this child. So why they don't do that for me, right? because it's a purpose, right? It is on purpose, right? What they're doing is on purpose. The spirits acting through them know exactly what they're doing and who they're doing it to, right? You may feel like, okay, they do this, they mistreat the other parent and they mistreat us, but then we see them let other people treat them bad and they don't stand up for themselves to these people. You know why? Because those spirits don't act the same way towards those people, because it's not given the same task, right? That personality, that person that they are to you, they're that person to you because you allow it. The spirit in you, the forgiving and loving spirit in you, allow them to treat you that way, and that's why they treat you that way, and the family, their personal family, that way. But then they go out in the streets and they don't treat other people that way, right? You also see things like that in careers, right? A lot of narcissistic parents, they don't have good careers, right? Because they know that they had to find a safe place, because they couldn't be in a job mistreating people, especially if they didn't get education, right? Because they knew that they could not go to school treating people this way, so they stayed in familiarity, right? Connected to people that they could treat this way, right? And that is how narcissistic behavior works. It is a spirit. It's spirits, right, that make people do things like this, right? They manipulate situations and certain people, but they don't do that to everybody. And if you really sit back and you're really wondering, like, am I a victim of narcissistic abuse? Like, really think about the behaviors that you experience from other people, right? Like, think about how they treat other people. That's why you'll see there's a man who, a narcissistic man, right? He was raised narcissistic because he probably has a narcissistic mother or father, right? Or both, right? And now he's in a relationship with a woman, right? And now he's abusive, domestic violence type of abusive, right? He will hit her because his anger is safe to come out on her, because he cannot fight his mother, his father, his family members who mistreat him, right? So where he can do that is with her, right? That's why a man who is violent physically to his wife will go out in the street and people don't even know what's happening to her behind closed doors, because he's not that same person, right? Those spirits are activated from the spirits in you, right? And that is how you recognize what narcissistic abuse is and what's happening around you. You will not understand it unless you go on your healing spiritual journey, right? Then you will be able to see these things, see that these spirits are acting through these people to affect you, right? To hinder you from finding your purpose. It is not personal. It's purposeful, right? That is why you have to wake up, right? That is why you have to wake up spiritually, so you can understand what's happening around you, right? You were created for a purpose, and with all this narcissistic abuse coming your way, you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to move forward in your life because you're hindered by these narcissistic attacks from all these different spirits trying to block you from elevating. The only way up is up, right? The only way up is through. But the only person who can get you through, the only way you can get through is with God, right? You have to understand how spiritual warfare is working, right? There are some spirits that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, right? You have people who are around you and they are pretending to love you and care about you, but every time they need something, they always coming to you. That is the enemy coming to steal, right? Steal what is for you, right? Because God cannot unlock your inheritance if you are constantly giving it out to the enemy, right? So that is what's happening to you. Destroy people, rejection, right? People come into your life to continuously reject you. That is the enemy acting through these people to cause you to experience rejection, right? And feel like nobody's going to love you or appreciate you or accept you. A lot of that comes from childhood, from your parents, so that when you run into your kingdom spouse or the person that God has for you, you're so damaged that you cannot recognize them. We have to see that these things are really happening around us. But if we do not go to God so he can take the spiritual blinders off of us and really show us what is happening around us, we will never spiritually elevate, and you will never find your purpose. It is not personal. None of it is. It is all purposeful. I love y'all.